If you've not been here before, I'm Dr. Keith Moran. Is a natural COVID infection really 13 times better than being vaccinated? This study, performed during the recent Delta outbreak in Israel, demonstrates natural immunity to COVID. Here is the study. The study investigators did a retrospective observational study comparing 3 different groups. The first group had never been infected with SARS-CoV-2, and they received 2 doses of the Pfizer vaccine. The second group were previously infected individuals who had not been vaccinated, and the third group were previously infected people who received a single dose of the Pfizer vaccine. The study looked at 2.5 million people in the Member Health Fund in Israel, and this covers 26% of their population and provides quite a representative sample. The study population included people older than age 16 who were vaccinated before February 28, 2021, or who had had a documented SARS-CoV-2 infection by this date, or who had both a documented infection and then received 1 dose of the vaccine 3 months later. Of interest, on March 2, 2021, the Israel Ministry of Health changed its guidelines to allow previously infected SARS-CoV-2 people to receive 1 dose of the vaccine after a minimum 3-month interval from the date of infection. They followed all of these 3 groups from June 1 to August 14, 2021, when Delta was the predominant strain in Israel. Here are their study results. First, they compared vaccinated individuals versus previously infected people, and they matched for the time of the second vaccination and the time of the documented infection. They wanted both to occur between January 1 and the end of February. So what they were trying to do here was to match the time their immune system was activated in both groups, and then after that examine what the protection was from either vaccination or natural infection. They matched 16,215 people in each group. There were 257 infections, of which 238 occurred in the vaccination group, meaning a breakthrough infection, and just 19 in the previously infected group. Now this represents a 13 times increased risk for breakthrough infection as opposed to reinfection. Statistically, the likelihood of this result occurring by chance would be less than 1 in 1,000. They then looked at symptomatic infections during the follow-up. There were 199 total cases, 199 in the vaccinated group, and only 8 in the previously infected group. This represents a 27 times increased risk for symptomatic vaccine breakthrough infection as opposed to symptomatic reinfection in the natural immunity group. Statistically, the likelihood of this result occurring by chance would be again less than 1 in 1,000. Now, there were 9 cases of COVID-19 related hospitalizations, 8 in the vaccinated group and only 1 in the previously infected group. In summary, this study is the largest real-world observational study we have comparing natural immunity gains from previous SARS-CoV-2 infection to the Pfizer 2-shot vaccine-induced immunity. There was a 13 times increased risk for breakthrough infection with Delta if you were vaccinated in January or February 2021 versus being infected during those 2 months. The increased risk was significant for symptomatic disease as well. Ultimately, this study goes along with a number of other studies that I've reported on. There's also data from this group that showed people who recover from a SARS-CoV-2 infection continue to develop increasing numbers and types of coronavirus targeting antibodies for up to 1 year. By contrast, twice vaccinated people stop seeing increases in the potency or the breadth of the overall antibody memory compartment a few months after their second dose. When it comes to COVID-19, we do know that the viral proteins that are generated by the vaccine are against the spike protein receptor binding area of the virus. We know that with natural immunity, the T cells as well as the antibodies are targeted against other parts of the virus, such as the envelope proteins and the nucleocapsid proteins, as well as the spike protein. This is why we have to consider people who have had previous infection as having a degree of immunity